Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about 10 different fragrances, both niche and designer, that always get me compliments, except for the times that I wear them and they don't. But really, these 10 fragrances are certified compliment magnets. These are just massively people-pleasing scents. Each one of them linked in the description below. Feel free to check them out down there. And if you would like some codes to save yourself some money, pause the video now and use these codes for So Avant-Garde, Twisted Lily, Max Aroma, Lucky Scent, and Triple Traders, which is a website that has a lot of stuff on there, but especially cologne fragrances. Now, before we jump into the fragrances themselves, how about that lovely PSA? Yeah, the compliment PSA. I feel like I've said this 52,000 times now. Compliments are typically gonna come from people that you know. So we're talking friends, family, acquaintances, co-workers, loved ones. You know the drill. If somebody knows you, they're much more likely to come up to you and say, hey, what you're wearing is good, is nice, or something along those lines. I don't think they would actually come up and say it like that. That'd be kind of weird, but yeah, you know the drill. If they know you, they're more likely to come up to you. As well, depending on where you work, where you're at, where you find yourself, the situation, the people around you, your personality, just a lot of different things can go into whether you get a compliment or not, right? So if you look like you just rolled through mud and you stink of BO mixing with your fragrance and you're mean mugging people and just overall being kind of an a-hole, I don't expect compliments. Is that a bit of an extreme thing there? Yes, it is, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, well, that was a nice PSA. Let's jump into it. First fragrance, a very obvious one. It is Y Eau de Parfum from Yves Saint Laurent. Now, if you're seeking compliments, pretty much the entire Y line will get those for you. The Eau de Toilette, Y Live, this one, Y Le Parfum, the new Y Eau de Parfum Intense. Pretty much any Y will do the job for you. Great versatility here. Year round, you can pull this off daytime or evening. Just do dial the sprays down a little bit in the summer because it is quite sweet and it does have good performance. So you could choke people out, including yourself, if you go a little too heavy. Really nice apple in the opening, gives you that fruity sweetness that draws people in, and a good amount of amber woods as it dries down. When you're looking for something that helps you pull compliments, if you're looking for something that's gonna do that more often than not, I've said this a bunch of times, fresh and sweet are usually the best ways to go. Either something very fresh, very sweet, or both of those things. Y Eau de Parfum kind of touches both of those categories with how it comes across. And blue fragrances in general are gonna be very safe, very easy to pull compliments with. So we're talking Dior Sauvage, the Y line, Bleu de Chanel, Dylan Blue, stuff like that. After that one, let's talk about this one, Armani Code. This is the Eau de Toilette, the OG. Now this is the new version, the rebottling, the reimagination, whatever you want to call it, but really just Armani Code, the EDT. And this is another circumstance where most, not all, but most of the fragrances in this line as well, very good for pulling that positive attention. So this is a fragrance that makes use of leather, but it has a big heaping dose of tonka in there. So it's gonna give you that sweetness that's gonna help kind of balance everything out and make it just very appealing. This one is going to be more of an evening fragrance. It is one that's going to be more of a fall and wintertime scent as well. Typically, people would think of this as a cool weather fragrance, but it does have a good amount of versatility to it. You don't have to wear it only in those situations. And with Armani Code EDT, one of the things that that fragrance is known for, other than the leather and the tonka, is star anise, which is a note that you don't see used very often in men's fragrances nowadays. So it does give it a nice little twist compared to what's very popular and new. Let's go with a niche scent up next, and I'll go with this one, Mancera's Intense Cedrat Boisé. And the original Cedrat Boisé, also a big compliment puller as well. Love the new Mancera presentations. Well, really the new caps, because they got magnets in them. Really nice, appealing opening here. Fruity, sweet, almost slightly syrupy with the sweetness, but fresh at the same time, and a little bit of a tang to it because it has black currant in there, mixing together with citrus. As it dries down, you have some woods that come out, a bit of leather as well. And this one, the intense version, I do like a little bit more than the original. I think it's just been elevated and pushed a little bit further. Some people do compare this to the smell of Creed's Aventus, but I think side by side, very different. Back to designers, I'm gonna go with a newer release here, Valentino Uomo Born in Roma Intense. This stuff is killer. I really liked it when it first came out, and man, I like it so much more now. Easily, this is my favorite Valentino Uomo Born in Roma release up to this date. It's got vanilla, lavender, and vetiver as the notes in the fragrance, and this one is another one that just makes perfect use of sweetness. It's not too sweet. It has a little bit of a clean edge to it as it dries down. It's a little zingy off the top. You know, it's got a touch of freshness there when you do first spray it on. Wonderful release though. Absolutely dig that stuff. Let's follow that up with this, Dolce & Gabbana's The One Eau de Parfum Intense. So this one makes use of cardamom, neroli, cashmeran, and leather as some of the notes to the scent. And even though it's the one Eau de Parfum Intense, it doesn't really smell like an intense version of the one Eau de Parfum. Just one of those weird naming convention things that happens with fragrances where a brand can't seem to come up with a great name for a release in a line, and then they just slap something on the end of it there, like intense. This is another one that makes a great use of kind of a mixture of fresh and sweet and warm all in one fragrance, because when you first spray this one on, it does have a little bit more of a fresh bite to it. So that neroli, of course, helping out with that. Cardamom is more of a green cardamom, so it's not as heavy, it's not as delectable, you might say, as compared to some other designer fragrances that make heavy use of cardamom. Ends up being great for spring, fall, and winter, not really a summer scent, and it's a little bit overlooked as well. Then we have one that is definitely not overlooked, Acqua di Gio Profondo. Love the stuff, Acqua di Gio, just, it's been ubiquitous in men's fragrances for so long. But the reason that it has been everywhere and continues to be everywhere is because it sells, people wear it, people like it. Sometimes it is that simple. Acqua di Gio Profondo, really nice modernized take on the Acqua di Gio DNA. It's got a green freshness to it. Of course, it has that aquatic cleanliness that you would expect from Acqua di Gio. Good touch of citrus off the top, a little minerality as well. Really solid for spring, summer, daytime, or evening, and office wear. And like Armani Code, like YSL-Y, and honestly, kind of Valentino Uomo Born in Roma, Acqua di Gio is a line where you could pretty much go through that line, pick up the one that you like the most, and it's gonna work just about as well as any of the other ones. They all are made with mass appeal in mind. That is what they are designed for. Back to niche, Layton. Parfums de Marly. Not a very exciting choice because Layton is extremely popular as far as niche fragrances go, but it does do so well that I can't really leave it out. Now, one thing that is unfortunate about Layton is for a long while, Parfums de Marly you could find at discounters typically for a pretty good price, all things considered, a marked off price, we'll say, compared to retail. But over the past 6 odd months or so, Parfums de Marly has been pretty much bumped up to retail pricing at most discounters, and that is unfortunate. If you don't want to spend Layton money, there are a bunch of alternatives out there, a bunch of clones. You can get Detour Noir from Al Haramain. You can get Dusk from the Woods collection, the natural collection of the Woods collection. And then you could get Amber Oud Exclusif Blue, and that is also a clone of Layton. Then there's White and Black by Lalique, which is also quite close. So there's a lot of different things out there if you don't want to pay Layton money for Layton. But the original thing, the real deal here, fantastic. The spices in there are just blended to perfection. Just the right amount of, again, sweetness with that spice. It's a hyper sexy fragrance. We're talking just perfect for a night out. It's got really good performance. The quality is there. Bottle looks good. The whole thing is just top notch. Then we move on to Scandal from Jean Paul Gaultier. It's got caramel, tonka, clary sage, mandarin orange, and vetiver. That's some of the notes in the fragrance. Scandal for me is like the poster boy fragrance of a scent that I'm glad I stuck with, because with first impressions, I didn't hate it, but man, has this stuff grown on me. It is sweet, and it does slot in with a lot of the fragrances that have come out over the past few years that are, you know, fall, winter time, caramel, or chestnut, hazelnut sort of fragrance. There are a bunch of those that have come out, and it does slot in with those. But man, if you're talking about a scent that in fall and winter time has good performance, that people just seem magnetically drawn to, that will crush it. And it gets overlooked compared to a lot of the other ones out there. Like the Stronger With You line, or the Most Wanted, or something like that, they will get a little more love than Scandal, but Scandal is just as good. And talking about magnetic fragrances, the Scent Magnetic. This is just fantastic. I was completely unsure about this one when it was announced, because one of the notes of the fragrance here is bran, which didn't sound super appealing to me, because when I hear bran, I think Raisin Bran, bran cereal. And yet somehow with the Maninka and the vanilla and the bran in the Scent Magnetic, it just works off my skin. It is a stunner, a showstopper. Now it's got a touch of powder to it. If you're familiar with the scent line, it's probably not too much of a surprise, because even the way that Maninka comes across, it's a little bit powdery, exotic, fruity, powdery. But this one is smooth and rich and creamy and yeah, powdery, but the way it comes across, like I said, it is just in the air. People take notice. Last one is another one that's pretty obvious. It's niche, and it is Angel Share by Kilian. Apparently it's working pretty well for by Kilian, because they just announced 100 ml size bottles of these, which essentially looks the exact same, just stretched upwards. Boozy, fruity, rich. Yeah, Angel Share is one of, I would say, the most hyped niche fragrances that have come out over the past few years, and for good reason. It just sets the bar so high for what they're doing with this line. And a couple of the other fragrances in this line are pretty good, but nothing I think is close to Angel Share yet, just as far as the reach and the public reception. This is another one where there are some clones out there. The most well-known is Kamra, and that is by Lattafa. So if you're wanting something like this, but you don't have Angel Share money, I would check that one out. So there we go, guys. 10 different fragrances that always give me compliments. Thank you guys for hanging with me here today. Let me know in the comments fragrances that you wear that seem more oftentimes than not to get the job done for compliments, positive attention pulling, all that stuff. Thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.